Let's jump into the Roto-World player news. We have a lot to get to today. We're going to do Weekend Warriors. We're going to get into the Sunday series, of course, but we have to start with the Broncos-Dolphins game because Raheem Mostert and De'Von Achane combined for 8 touchdowns and 103.1 fantasy points. Yes, 103.1. Achane, obviously a breakout game in his rookie season. He gets 18 carries for over 200 yards. He also catches 4 passes for 30, and each having 4 touchdowns, Barry, was just unbelievably ridiculous. The Broncos weren't tackling anyone. They weren't playing any defense. And the Dolphins, we talk about this pass game a lot, but the run game was absurd.
We talked about this a little bit on fantasy football pregame Sunday morning. Now, obviously, we didn't expect over 100 fantasy points. We didn't expect 8 combined touchdowns, but we did say that we thought, hey, the Denver Broncos defense is not something that we particularly are impressed with. We saw what Brian Robinson did to them the week before, that you could run on Denver, and we were like, hey, West Coast team traveling east for a 1 o'clock game in the hot Miami sun. Like, this could get ugly. Again, we did not predict 70. I'm not sitting here saying we predicted 70, but I'm not surprised that the Dolphins put up a big number here. You and I, Jay, both like the Dolphins to cover the 6.5. Obviously, they did that very easily. But, yeah, I mean, like, it's where to start here. I
think the question is
how real is it?
Well, how real is it for Achane in particular?
Right,
and
right.
How much of a thing is he? Because is he just the starting running back now on the best offensive football and a top 12 running back the rest of the way? Or is he just going to go back to getting, in a normal game, 9, 10 carries and be that kind of guy?
I think it's somewhere in between, which is, remember, again, as you see, like the no-look pass.
Yeah,
it's just,
Patrick
yeah, exactly. That's the thing. The running backs did so much in here that no one's really talking about Tua. Tua played a great game. I just feel like he's not getting nearly enough credit. It's a lot of like, why didn't McDaniel go for the field goal and the running backs? But Tua played an absolutely monster game. To answer your question about De'Von Achane, here's what I will tell you, is that Jalen Waddle wasn't in this game. So first off, that's, I think, part of it. They used Mostert actually in the passing game, second most receptions, and second most targets on the team for Mostert, second most receptions in Mostert's game in a career. So they used him, I felt like, somewhat in the Waddle role. I thought it might be a Braxton Berrios or River Craycraft, but no, it was actually Raheem Mostert. But think about what Mike McDaniel did last year and what we've seen him do in San Francisco. It was Raheem Mostert and Jeff Wilson Jr., Jeff Wilson Jr. and Raheem Mostert. I just think De'Von Achane takes that Jeff Wilson Jr. role. One of the reasons why Mostert and Wilson and even Achane to an extent were devalued in ADP coming into the season was because people were, well, this is going to be a committee. And now I think I don't know how you put De'Von Achane back on the bench after this performance. Having said that, Raheem Mostert did nothing to lose the job. So do I think he's the starting running back of the Dolphins? No. Do I think he's going back to just a 9-10 touches a game? No. So I think it's somewhere in between. They play at a very fast pace of play, and this offense is clearly explosive enough. We're not expecting 70 every week, but this offense is obviously explosive enough that both guys can be startable fantasy running backs every week in fantasy football. I think the biggest loser here is probably Jeff Wilson Jr., who I just don't, as long as those two guys are healthy, I don't know how they come off the field.
Yeah, to me, Connor, the most ridiculous thing out of all of this is that Raheem Mostert had 142 yards, 7 receptions, 4 touchdowns, and you probably feel worse about him going forward now just because of how good Achane was. I mean, what kind of role do you think that Achane will have from here?
I mean, it's weird to say change of pace because change of pace in this offense is something that matters a lot because the change of pace in the Dolphins backfield, they're all fast. They're all great. They all can hit the big play. But it feels like they know a couple things. Number one, Mike McDaniel's been with Raheem Mostert most of his NFL career, going back to San Francisco. Mostert's a guy that breaks down if you use him too much. They want to be careful by not just burning him out. So you have Achane now that can split the carries, or in games that you're dictating the entire rhythm, you lean on him, and they did lean on him in this game. And while we're trying to figure out the usage, guys, we talked a lot about Achane's talent on the draft.
Yeah. Before we get there, hang on for one second. 2 things. Number one is a lot of people are victory lapping De'Von Achane. They talked up De'Von Achane. But what we would like to do right here is we would like to victory lap the people who are victory lapping, because this clip is literally from draft night. From draft night. NFL draft night, not fantasy draft night. From the actual draft night. The Friday night, night 2 of the NFL draft. Roll the clip.
Speed. Miami loves speed. They love stressing you on the edges, or if you can hit one in between the tackles and get upfield, and that's what De'Von Achane can do.
I've seen a lot of Achane, and I have to tell you, he He's fast. He's also physical. He's tough to bring down. He was very productive in the SEC, and now he goes to a tremendous play caller in Mike McDaniel.
Tough seeing those silver headphones again, but it was a really good point that you both made.
No, 100%. We had some technical difficulties we needed, but anyway, yeah, if I could get a Bose sponsorship, I'd be down for that. I'm a big fan of Bose, as is Connor Rogers, but we're an even bigger fan of De'Von Achane, as you saw there. Again, that was literally draft night. Everything we said on draft night has come true. We talked about it in the preseason as well, but most importantly, he's only rostered in 41% of Yahoo leagues. So he's out there at about 60%, 2% started him. So can you imagine seeing all those points on your bench? This is blow your budget. This is, number one waiver pick. This is go all in on De'Von Achane. You have likely seen the best game of his career.
Yes.
Not forget this year. This is literally going to be the best game of his career. But again, is this a fluke? It isn't. He's a fast, powerful runner in a offense that is tailor-made for him. There is a reason why Mike McDaniel stood on the table and went to get him. That was not in that clip there, but that's what we talked about draft night as well.
Yeah. And look, just don't be surprised if you do blow your budget on him that he has 9 carries for 37 yards against Buffalo this coming week, because that is also could be in play in a timeshare going up against a better defense. But then the week after against the Giants, he could easily have 110 yards and 2 touchdowns. So I think it's going to be inconsistent. He's not going to be a typical, hugely valuable running back in fantasy, but obviously he has to be started everywhere for the time being.
Without a doubt. And when you look at the Dolphins' offense, I mean, this tweet from Pro Football Talk just on their speed, it's just insane when you look at what they have. All the guys that are hitting top speeds in the NFL, well, they all play for the Dolphins, whether it's Tirico Hill, whether it's, of course, De'Von Achane, Raheem Mostert. I mean, this Miami offense, you could buy in pretty much anybody that's going to handle any near majority work of the snaps.
Yep, and again, we've only mentioned Tua Tagovailoa's name once, but he's obviously a locked-in top 7, top 8 fantasy quarterback the rest of the way, clearly. He was kind of an afterthought in this game. All he did was go 23 of 26, 309 passing yards and 4 touchdowns.
And Tyreek Hill, by the way. We haven't even talked about Tyreek Hill.
9 for 157 on the touchdown.
Right, Tyreek Hill, just another day. I mean, Tyreek Hill is, anyway, but there's a very good scenario where Tirico Hill finishes the year as the number 1 fantasy wide receiver, right?
Yep.
It's him and Jefferson. Again, I just pour one out for everyone that decided they're sitting there at the draft into the first round. I could go Cooper Kupp, I could go Tyreek Hill. I'm gonna go Cooper Kupp. What are you gonna do? What are you gonna do?
Jay, you were on this one 2 weeks ago, and hopefully people listen then. Is the value going to start to run out on McDaniel Coach of the Year?
Well, here's the thing, is that if he goes into Buffalo this weekend and wins, then he's pretty much just going to play a straight bat from there, and he should win Coach of the Year. The thing is, with what we talked about, is that people are just going to be desperate to vote for him because he's so cool, and the offense is so cool, and they're so fast, and he is just great. And you combine the personality with the play calling and the very visible coaching, and also the fact that I don't think people really think of Tua in the same breath as Joe Burrow or Josh Allen.
Correct.
So the credit will go to the coach in a big way.
The credit will go to McDaniel, and again, we talked about this. It's a media award, and the media loves and rightfully so, by the way. Mike McDaniel's awesome, right? I mean, but they like him. He's not a. I legitimately think one of the reasons why Belichick didn't win all those years is just he's not media friendly.
Yep.
It's insane. That 10-year stretch.
Side by humans.
I mean, Belichick should have won every single year. You know what I mean? The fact that Belichick's got, one Coach of the Year, maybe 2, I think, in his career. He should have won it for a decade straight. Every year the Patriots were elite. And anyway, but that's my point. It's a media award. The media loves Mike McDaniel.
Yeah, compare that to I can't remember a single thing Dennis Allen has ever said. Just literally can't think of a quote that he's ever said. Whereas McDaniel, I just see him all the time, and he's such a great quote.
Mike McDaniel, formerly a ball boy for the Broncos, 15 some years later, he hangs 70 on him. Insane story. But with
I do love the stuff that you've seen around social media, and we'll move on to this very quickly, but just the stuff that Mike McDaniel couldn't get an interview. A former Denver Broncos ball boy, number 1, and number 2, couldn't get an interview. The Broncos didn't think enough of him to interview him for their head coaching job. Achane and Mostert, by the way, 96.5 points. That was more than Ken Walker, Christian McCaffrey, Zach Moss, and James Conner combined, running backs 3 through 6. Yep. So those two, who obviously were number 1 and 2 in fantasy points, combined for more than 3 through 6. I mean, Anyway,
If you had to play against them this weekend, you should drink free, but we have a different surprise for that.
Right,
later.
exactly, 100%. I want people, but please tweet, and I'm having people do this, but tweet at me at MatthewBerryTMR or exit me, whatever you want to call it, whatever. I want to see who played, because there's the way the draft fell. You easily could have played against like Justin Herbert, Raheem Mostert, and like whether CMC, right, or Ken Walker. You could have had Keenan, somebody had Keenan Allen and Mike Williams, or like Jefferson. I mean, like it just kind of this, I've already seen some people that face like 250-point games, like they're just ridiculous. And somebody picked up Zach Moss off the waiver wire, and they play in a kicker league, and Matt Gay had a monster game, or Brandon Aubrey. So anyway, I want to see it. Bills defense, Commanders. Hey, it's Matthew Berry from NBCSports.com and RotoWorld.com, and I want to thank you so much for watching whatever it is you just watched, or if nothing else, being too lazy to click out of the autoplay after this video started, after whatever it is you actually wanted to watch finished. But now that you're here, I'd like to take a moment here to ask you respectfully now, okay? I'm asking you respectfully to subscribe to the NFL on NBC YouTube channel. You'll get the latest RotoWorld fantasy news headlines, all sorts of great shows, including my own Fantasy Football Happy Hour. So go subscribe now. Again, I'm asking respectfully.